So, hi everybody, my name is Peter Andrews and I'm going to be taking you through a session all about segmentation and persona development. So let me get the slides on. So this we're going to be talking about today, about the whole area and the importance of understanding your consumer better than anyone else and developing persona profiles so that you know how to set up your marketing campaigns, your product offerings and your services. So the first quote that I want to start off with here, and it's from Seth Godin. And Seth Godin says these great two quotes here. One of them is, everyone is not your customer. So in a mass market era, or mass marketing era, and some of the cases they're still there, and if you're selling chocolate bars, maybe everybody is your customer, but even then they're not, are they? If they're lactose intolerant, or they're rejecters of chocolate, or for many other reasons, the truth is, not everyone is your customer. And Seth also has this other great quote, which I really like, and that is, don't find customers for your products, find products for your customers. And that means knowing more about them and what their pain points are, what they really want, what they're missing from other organizations, and providing that for them. Okay. Now, today we're going to be talking about segmentation and seeing where that fits in with an overall marketing plan. So segmentation, as you can see from this chart behind me, is about identifying meaningfully different groups of customers. So that is trying to cluster them together by saying what makes them different from other groups, what makes them similar. Then obviously we choose which of those are going to be profitable, which ones we can serve in the best way and that our products, our services can meet. And then we have a whole marketing plan which is about positioning. But today I want to focus particularly on segmentation and persona development. Now what we must remember when it comes to segmentation, particularly digital strategy, the consumer comes first. So before you do anything else at all, before you sit there coming up with your great big ideas and the influencers you're going to use and the platforms that you're going to be on, first of all, you need to understand who your consumer is. And that means you get a far more effective use of your marketing budget. We get a clearer understanding of the needs and the wants of different groups, so we can actually effectively serve them in the best way. And this means that we can have more effective positioning and differentiation. You know, why are we different from our competitors? What makes us interesting to our consumer groups? And then finally, the greater precision in selecting promotional vehicles and techniques, the platforms that we want to be on, the tools that we have, the competitions we want to run, all those great things, the networks that we want to be involved with as well. If we really understand our consumers, then we can target them. Now, I start off here with a group because you hear quite often people talking about age segmentation. So you hear that we target 16 to 25-year-olds, so there's an image of some of them. Is that a target audience? A bunch of people based around an age group? We need to go deeper than that as marketers. What else do you know about them? You know, what segmentation tools can you use? Do you know something about their behaviours, their attitudes, their hobbies, the things that they enjoy doing as well? Are there other things which you can find out? And so this brings me to key segmentation tools. So I put 6 key areas up on here. So I'll make this a bit larger so you can all see it. And I might make myself transparent in a little while. But you can see that the number one, geographic, typically where do they live? What part of the country or part of the world or town do they live in, so we can target people by area. And sometimes it can be useful, particularly if you've got something that's geographically important. Demographics, we'll talk a bit about demographics in a minute, but simple things that you can measure: how old they are, what gender they are, what their income is, whether they've got an education. Geodemographic is very much about what we call micro-targeting. So it's trying to take very small areas to be able to target them. So you get this sometimes where people will profile streets. Prism targeting is one of them. And you might say they've got a specific audience in this area of a town or a country that you really want to target. So that would be geo-micro targeting people on a location base. Then we have behavioural and benefits. So I'll talk a bit about behavioural and benefits in a while. And you can see this start telling us what people are doing. What actually are they doing? What benefits are they seeking from the products, the goods, the services they're getting involved with? What are the benefits that they're looking for? Now, psychographic I'm going to go into in much more greater depth, but it's about how people think and how they feel, and how that affects their behaviour, their values, what they stand for, their interests, their opinions. And then finally, you always have another. So I've got 6 here, but let's face it, there's 3 in the other area here. But it's many things. I've got a few examples here, like reputation, membership, role. So for example, you might target somebody who's a mother, or somebody who's a carer, or somebody who's a football coach, because you're targeting them based on their role rather than these other aspects, depending on the product or service that you're actually marketing. Now, this is a nice little chart here, because what you'll see is the things that marketers normally use to target, things like demographics, down over here, demographics, they are easy to measure. How old are you? How much do you earn? Where are you in the country? Up in with geodemographics. These are easy to measure, but actually, predictability of what consumers are going to do in the future doesn't tell you much at all. And this is why I'm not a big fan of demographics, to be honest, and particularly age segmentation, which gets so often used in marketing. But you can see psychographics and behavioural targeting starts telling you a bit more about consumers, about what they do and why they do things. Now, they're actually quite difficult to get that kind of data and to measure it and to cluster people together, but you have a much greater possibility of understanding and predicting consumer behaviour. Now, what about consumer insights? So, to know about our consumers means we're looking for insights, and insights should be an obsession for marketeers. They should be seen as the bedrock of smart communication, the nuggets that guide big creative ideas, the insights, that things that perhaps no one else has found, something your competitors haven't found or haven't understood. And real insights should always be these unmet needs, the things, the pain points that people have, something that no one else has discovered yet. I'm always interested with consumers, like, what is it that you don't get from the current brands or services or products that you consume? What is it that's really missing? What's the pain point that you have? And insights just start from your audience. It's all about your target audience. Now, we'll start off segmentation demographics. Okay, so they use measures that are easily quantified and observable. So there's my list of them there. Age, gender, family cycle, income, occupation, so on. They can be useful. They can be, because they can actually indicate certain things that can be important in certain categories. And maybe a segmentation, which I've already said I don't like, but in some categories, it can be useful. If you've got makeup products, well, of course, skin types change over age. So age might be important for you. But they are sometimes, quite often, used lazily by marketeers because they're easy to do, but they don't actually tell you too much. They don't answer why people do things. You might be able to cluster them together, but they don't actually tell you why they do them. And if you don't know why, how can you make better products, services, and goods that are going to delight these consumers? You need to know, why do they do it? And this is classic generational. I personally really dislike generational targeting. And you see this in the media quite often, don't you? We went through baby boomers, Generation X, millennials, Generation Z. I've heard many other things used over time. And effectively, what this is actually saying is everybody born in a certain number of years are the same. They behave in the same way. So we'll just target them. And that's just not true. You think, whatever generation group you're part of, you're not the same. Now, I work at a university, and I can't look at my students and say they're all the same, because they are not all the same. They are all different. I might be able to find other ways to cluster them in groups, but there's no such thing as Generation Z. Not really. It makes great headlines, and some consultants can make money out of it, but you can pretty much walk away if somebody starts talking to you about age segmentation. Now, it can be used brilliantly. This is a clip from Guinness advert. Guinness have been masters at actually challenging age by showing people of an older age group in really cool and very different environments. So this is one, the gentleman of good taste or something. But you can see they're challenging the notion of age. So sometimes age and life cycle can be interesting. Let me give you a few examples as well. So behavioural occasions. Now, brands love to own a behavioural occasion. So we've got here Kit Kat, have a break, have a Kit Kat. So when you have a tea break or a coffee break, have a Kit Kat. Now, I've got these, some of you may know this depending on where you've been around the world. So this is a mooncake, really popular in China, in Hong Kong. And this is something which is around the autumn festival which they give. So it's a behaviour which you have at an occasion. And the other way of looking at behaviours, there's many different ones to be fair, but this is about benefits. What's the benefit people are looking for? And I apologise if anyone works for Colgate here, but the idea that Colgate total, you see, if it's total, then it does everything, doesn't it? But no, it doesn't, because they understand people are looking for different benefits from their toothpaste. So you can see you've got advanced whitening, you've got interdental, you've got fresh breath, and what else have we got over here? So we've got advanced clean, gum health, sensitivity. See what I mean? You have all of these different products because they are saying, what's the benefit that you are looking for from your toothpaste? And we will try and give it to you. Now here's another behavioural segmentation tools, usage. So recognising the people that use things, the 80-20 rule, I think we call that quite often, and the 20% of people that account for 80% of your business. I know it's a rough rule of thumb and it'll be wildly inaccurate for some of you, but we get what we mean here. Is that some people are more valuable than others, and that's why if you fly around the world, not so great now because it's not good for the environment, but you get different cards and they look after you because they know you're going to spend a lot of money. So if you've got a platinum card or a gold card, it probably means you fly a lot. They're going to look after you. So that is really about looking after people from how much they use it. And then what about loyalty? That's another behaviour too. So lots of brands will reward their customers with loyalty, give them bonuses, give them points, give them free KFC in this case, that kind of thing. So trying to reward loyalty. And then there's this one which is about reputation. You can target people by reputation, and it happens quite often. I've got two images here, and they're both related to tourism, actually. And the image over here is some Chinese Eastern shoppers, and you can see they've got Gucci bags and other things like that. And it's because this is a reputation that actually when Chinese people travel, they spend a lot of money on brands. Now that won't be true, but in 100% of cases, but it's a reputation that they have. So, brands and brand stores like these, expensive brand stores, luxury brands, will be trying to target people based on their reputation. And then likewise here, this is American tourists. They tip. We don't tip very much in the UK, but American tourists do tip. So, so actually, if you're a restaurant or something, you're in an area where there's going to be a lot of American tourists, you try and target them because they have a reputation. They're going to tip more than other people will. So this brings me on to psychographics and psychographic segmentation. I'm just going to move myself a little bit here. Give me a second. Okay, so psychographic segmentation divides buyers into different groups based on social class, lifestyle, or personality traits. Now, they don't answer why people do it, but they give you the opportunity to be able to find out why. Why do they do it? You get a deeper consumer understanding. It's much more difficult to do because we're starting to get into the psychographic area, but it's always worthwhile. You get the insights from there, you get the pain points from this. It requires really good techniques, it's difficult to do, and a lot of it's qualitative research, or there's many different techniques, but a lot of it's qualitative research, and you've got to be very aware of the interviewer and social bias which could be in place. So it's difficult to do, but it tells you a lot. And I think this is a really good advert, which I use as an example here. And this is a Body Shop advert, which says there are 3 billion women who don't look like supermodels, but only 8 which actually do. So you can see what they're doing. They're targeting people very much on a mindset, on what they believe, on what they think, and what their values are. So a nice example of psychographics. I've deliberately set this up in this way. So a demographic view of the person here. So she's female, she's single, she's 23-year-old, and she lives in Taipei. So that's in the New Territories in Hong Kong. So that tells me a demographic view. It doesn't really tell me a lot. There's lots of people like her in Taipei, I expect. But Psychographics are effectively two sides of exactly the same consumer. So this is why you tend to use this data together. Okay, so let me get you the next part up here. So the psychographic view, this for example, so the same person here, we'll call her Sophie for the sake of it. She likes electronic music, dystopian fiction, Marvel movies, environmental issues. Do you see? It's telling me a lot more about her. It's giving me a much greater insight. It's the same person, but we're looking at different data. I can do things with this data, and I can start to target Sophie in a way because I know a bit more about what actually interests her. And so typically, when you're doing research to understand about psychographics, you use something called AIO questions. And for those of you that have taken part in some of these big surveys, they ask you these kind of questions, big omnibus surveys, to find out about the activities. That's the A, interest, the I, and the opinions, which is the O. So you get AIO. So banks of questions to understand. What are the things you do? What are the things that interest you? And what is your opinions? Now, you would still map this against demographics to give you a much more rich understanding of who your target audience is. Now, I'm going to briefly just share this model. We could do a whole session on this. This is called VALS 2. It's a tool which I really like because it blends psychographics, behavioural, and demographics as well, as start getting into people's mindsets. What is it that goes on in that mindset to make the decision? Now, this tool here, VALS 2, is based on people's primary motivation for buying something or for doing something. And they split it up into ideals, achievement, and self-expression. So you can see these, I'm going to put on a pointer for you so you can see what I'm talking about. Okay. All right, so ideals, achievement, and self-expression. And then from the bottom to top is how much resources people have. So resources is not just about income, it can be about education, it can be many things, but it's about what resources they have. And so within here, they've got different diamonds in this model here. So you've got low resources at the bottom, low innovation, high resources at the top. And you'll find then that people can make decisions maybe on their ideals. You know, what's important to them? Are they about environmentalists? Do they make their decisions based on that? Is that what's going to drive them? Does that drive them where they buy their coffee from, their clothes they buy, how they travel, for example? Is that a key element? Achievement means that people want to show that they're achieved, so they will buy things in a way that shows to people that they're successful. And quite often, luxury brands are not actually bought by the people that are right here at the top, the innovators, because they don't really need to socially signal to other people that they're doing particularly well. So achievement, you know, if you're a brand like Porsche, you're probably targeting people that are slightly below in terms of their income, but want to show people they've achieved. And then finally, on this side over here, you've got self-expression. So people that's about the experiential things, about the feeling and how they feel about things. These people are likely to spend much more money on travel and holidays, and the achievement people are likely to spend lots more money on things that others can see so that they look like they've done really well. So that can be a really nice tool as well. You can group people into some of these different boxes. Which brings me to, I suppose, the main part of this talk, and that is about typographies or personas. Both those things are the same, really. And this is all about multiple segmentation. So it's identifying smaller, better targeted groups by using all of the techniques you possibly can within the resources which you have, of course. And it's most likely to be used by advanced marketeers, particularly online, because you can get so much different data. And if you can blend some of this in as well, it can be fantastic. And it creates typographies or personas, which is what we call. So that's what we're going to be talking about. Now here's an example here. This is one I've taken from a major food brand. And one of their target audience is Charles. So you get, sometimes they will call them names. Now, in the UK, Boots the Chemist, Superdrug, they use names. They will have names for different types of personas that shop in their store. And they try and build the store and parts of the store based on that person. And so you hear them talk. So this one here, they go, will Charles buy this product? Would he try this food? Would he give this to his child, for example? So we've got a lot of detail here. We're not talking about how old Charles is, or his demographics, his race, or anything like that. We're more interested in about his mindset, his psychographics, his behaviour. And so that's what this is doing. It's building up a picture of a persona based on Charles. Now, this is a classic persona template. This is from Extensio. You can find those online. They do a free version, and you can also pay for them. And the great thing about these kind of persona templates is you can move them around. You can add things you want wherever you like. They're very flexible. But they're all about here. I mean, some of the great things which they have on Extensio. I'm just going to look at my screen above. If you see me looking into the sky, you get a biography at the bottom here. Then you've got the motivations. So why does this person do things? What motivates them? And then you've got the preferred channels which they like to use. You have their goals and their frustrations. So these are their unmet needs, their pain points. So you can start building this up. Now notice on this persona template, demographics is there. I mean, what's that? 5% of the space given to demographics? That's what we talk about. And here with Extensio, they're using a name. So just like we had Charles before, now we've got Alicia Wilson. So they're using names. It doesn't mean that they're targeting one person. It means that they're creating a persona based on a group of people, and they're giving them a name to give them some extra personality, so that when you're in the room, when you're having meetings online or wherever it is, people know what you're talking about. You say, what would Elisa do? What would Charles do in this circumstance? And that drives them. Here's something that one of my students did. They created these were target audiences that they thought was going to be relevant based on research they did, and for a tourism organisation, they do nature tours. Okay, and they ended up clustering in 5. They didn't call these names or anything. They called them titles. So you've got the photographer, recognising that people that like photography are going to go on these kind of trips. The lone naturalist, somebody that likes to travel by themselves, spend time by themselves. We've got here the current target audience, which is the retired naturalists. We have the influenced traveller, you know, the people that are looking for those brilliant images that perhaps they're going to be sharing on their blogs, on Instagram and other places, and do TikTok videos. And then also you've got the young adventurers here, the people that are going to be out trying to experience new things. So this is a set of personas which they put together. But notice they haven't used names in this case. They've used titles which they've created based on research which they've done. And here's another example here. This is segments of US car rental markets. And I won't really go into this in a lot of depth. But again, I put it there mainly because they're not using people's names. They're using titles. And they're trying to use all the segmentation techniques they possibly can to come up with titles. And maybe I'll read a couple of them. So you've got the Road Warrior down here. So the Road Warrior is going to probably spend a bit more money on the car. It's going to buy something a bit bigger, a bit more plush, maybe faster. And then at the same time, you've got rental avoiders, people that just don't want to rent. So don't target them because they're not interested in what you're doing. You've got then the conservative travellers, people that perhaps don't like having to go through the whole process of renting a car, filling in the forms, working out what insurance they want. They find it stressful. You know, they're saying 30% is in that bracket. It's quite a lot of them, isn't it? People that are actually conservative in terms of their car rental. So you need to understand what's their pain points, how can we help them, how can we do that better than anyone else can, because they're saying it's 30% of the audience. Now, I've got an example here. Next one is going to be Adidas, big brands. Now, they do different things with this segmentation, but they're very much on personas. Now, you can see here by looking at the logos that they're separating their brand into 3 different areas. So we've got performance, style, and original. So those are the kind of categories which they're focusing on. And you can see they've got some sub-brands down there below there. So you've got the collections for original, you've got labels for style, and then in performance, obviously we know we're talking about people that are buying it because they want to go faster, they want to be quicker than others, they've got personal bests, and they want to buy really great gear. Now I'm going to show you how they split these into different personas. They've got 3 personas. One's called Pop Girls, and one's called Gearheads, and one is a created word completely called Fastidious Eclectus. So we're going to have a look at those. So here's a Gearheads advert. Now, what you can tell immediately is a lot of information here. So as soon as you can see anything with a lot of information, you know that people are really interested and they're happy to spend a lot of time processing information. So they're going to be heavily involved. So these are people that really want the best product. Then the next one here is a really nice advert, which they've got cardiology. You can see he's a runner, got a running number on there. Cardiology is the thing which happens between runs. That's what's going on here. They're showing you how important it is to these people, how targeted it is, that they're going to buy the best products. They're going to be spending over £100 or $200 American dollars on running shoes, for example, because it's really important. They want the best gear, the latest stuff. Now, the other one is when we were looking at style, this is what they call pop girls, that street fashion, looking cool, bright colours, mixing, matching, sports brands, not to be used in sport in any way whatsoever. It's really just about the whole fashion side. And there's another image here. I know I've mixed and matched the brands here, but it gets the point over of what I'm trying to say in terms of pop girls, of who they're targeting. And then finally, fastidious eclectus. Now, and I found this ad, and this is where the originals come in. So fastidious eclectus is a made-up name, isn't it? But it's kind of a little bit like Latin. Fastidious would be people that really care about things, and eclectus will be about eclectic, people that want to be different, to stand out in a crowd, just as the advert says. And so you see a lot of the originals products, the originals advertising and targeting targets this kind of person, people that really care about standing out and being different and loving the brand for that. 3 very different, distinct personas: pop girls, gearheads, fastidious eclectus, entirely different from each other. Now, I'm going to finish off the templates, really. Now, if you're my students, we've got those templates on Canvas as well, so you can go in to Canvas and have a look at those. Now, this is what we're saying. Now, you can go on to Extensio and get this kind of information from them. You can use their templates online, you can move things around, but templates are a really good way to go. So that's a classic persona template. You can create your own blank ones, start to fill them in. Here's another template which I've seen being used in the past, which talks about nice things like, what are their behaviours? How do they find out about brands? So that tells about where they're looking, what kind of media outlets they're using. What are their pain points? I always like to know that. What actually are pain points? What do they want to know? What don't they want? What are the things that they just don't really want to pay for? And why do they want to engage with us? And how can we turn them into advocates? So advocates are people that will recommend your brand to other people, which is obviously, ultimately, what we want to achieve in social media marketing, for example. Okay, so I hope that's been helpful to just run through with you a bit about segmentation and persona creation. There's so much around this area. I could spend a lot of time on any element of this, but that's just under 30 minutes. I hope it's helpful. Thank you.